So now all of this stuff that was rebel media, podcasts, stuff now is now starting to be so commercialized now that like Rogan is essentially the Tonight Show now.
Yeah.
And it has viewership numbers that are better than anything that's on national broadcast TV. But there's tons of podcasts with huge, and so now the money starts coming in, and now Rogan is having on all the presidential candidates. He's sometimes got to play nice.
That was really good, by the way.
I really like her, except she just doesn't fucking kill when she needs to kill when she's talking to these people sometimes.
Yeah, but that's why.
Now she's doing it because her shit's almost falling apart and she's got to strike. But like she had so many chances.
Because she got, but that's because she got buried on like Assad supporters.
Did you see the Google thing?
That was nasty.
After that first debate, that was the one time she struck and it hooked well. She was the most searched candidate after that debate.
I hear when she said that.
And then Google would not run any of her ads for 24 hours.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Then I just saw a deal.
That shit is,
I just saw a deal today. It was there was like a CNN or NBC, like a major news story about someone from YouTube said how YouTube had changed their algorithms. Now anyone kind of questioning the official narrative on anything, meaning conspiracy stuff, asking questions about government, wars, they changed the algorithm. Not only for sure they're removing and they deleted my favorite.
But you're down.
My favorite conspiracy podcast got booted off of fucking YouTube the other day, for no reason.
Yeah.
Saying that it was about their advertisers and 20 other podcasts use those
but that's probably true. Yeah. But even if it is true, it's even more worrisome to me.
And with not a single check or thing against them.
Advertisers are corporations.
Yeah.
So that's even more worrisome to me. I much rather have YouTube and Google doing it from an evil empire perspective where we can sue them and remove that one guy than having advertisers running the show, because then you can never win because it's 20 corporations that'll just keep paying to change the rules.
Well, what they did was what they would do is they would have the algorithm not steer you to other things that more accurately fit your search just based on terminology. Yeah. But if you're looking for something on the fringe, it overcorrects to put you back into the most mainstream sources.
So we're back to the Matrix.
It takes you to NBC.
We're back to the Matrix. Yeah. That's what scares. This is where the evil of capitalism is shown.
So I'll cut in maybe like the last 5 seconds of this, but we just wrapped up our conspiracy content about the Matrix.
Post the whole thing. It's kind of funny. No, because you know what? Actually, I think it's a very important conversation because I believe it is a continuation of something that started with the Industrial Revolution, where we don't, and I'm going to talk about that. But I think the evil that started, and I say evil I don't think it's evil, but something we did not foresee, like all Black Swan events, and Industrial Revolution definitely was a Black Swan event, was what he did with the school. The creation of the school system has created an evil, which I think the continuation of that is the corporations, capitalism, and the corporations have found the way to control the discourse by never doing one thing bad, but 1,000 small bad things.
Exactly.
So that's what the Google stuff, Tulsi Gabriel, you can put the whole thing. Put the whole thing, First, two things. First of all, I love that she was on Joe Rogan, because even when she was on Bill Maher, you still could not tell what she was saying, because she was cutting it down. There, you have actually, right or wrong, like an understanding of what she's saying.
My thing is, I was like, well, wait a minute, there's a person saying we shouldn't be at war all over the world?
Yeah.
Right.
That's where she can't succeed.
That's exactly.
By the way, Roosevelt talked about this. In American politics, they refuse. Anyway, but so that's why, like her suing Google, I'm like, I want this to have an evil emperor.
Just one bad guy.
One bad guy, because you can remove one bad guy. What scares me is 20 corporations as advertisers.
And I've said this, well, not only that even then, it's not,
we'll never win.
That each advertiser is not like, fuck these people. It's these little micro decisions that point things in. We've talked in the past about, it's really easy to try to attribute something to malice or someone trying to do harm, when most of the time it's just fucking stupidity.
Stupid is more dangerous than evil.
That just kind of fucking strings
But
along.
even, or stupid, for example, stupid is more dangerous than evil. But my problem is it's not even stupid and evil anymore. It's just systematization. It's just objective-based mentality where we go, how do we get from A to D? Without knowing if D is actually good or bad. The only thing that matters is we're going to get to D. So the advertisers are at a stage where they're like, well, we want more clicks, so we'll do whatever the fuck we need to do that. Even though it can use evil methods, because their intent is not evil, they go like, well, I just asked for more clicks, and then you gave me that. And through that objective-based mentality, we have the tyranny of the majority. But the problem is the majority is not us, is what they think is us. Like the whole discussion about Twitter is, Twitter doesn't matter.
No,
I don't think it does. He has never changed a policy. Did he get Trump elected? I don't think so either. That's not what got him elected. The journalist, media got Trump elected, not.
And I think also, like you mentioned, the systematization of things is that we've talked about in the past that any system that exists is going to, not out of malice, but based on its necessity, it's going to have things built in to protect itself and to make it thrive.
It's almost alive. So what is the system going to do?
And that includes corporations are almost they are self-preserving.
You could, by the way, you could have a conversation about what is life, like the Schrödinger stuff. So a system that increases its own complexity to grow is very, very close to the definition of being alive.
Yeah, and that's why I say all of these systems become very living.
Let's say, because that's a deep conversation, but let's say for a second they are alive. I don't necessarily think that, but for a second. In the sense of they're going to increase their complexity to grow and do whatever they will do to defend themselves. There is no evil in that. This is just what a system does.
Yeah, and it's like if you wonder why corporations can use other avenues to get money to politicians, to get policy made in favor, it's because that's what they have to do.
That's what a living being does.
They kind of need it to be that way.
By the way,
and so they're going to try
you'll defend your kids and you'll do whatever is better for you. And as a system, but the Western one has done that. Colonization of Africa was not done to save the savage, to bring the savages civilization, no matter what my grandfather said. He actually said that motherfucker.
Really?
Yeah. We had that man would tell me it's dark at night, and I would disagree because we had so many of those conversations where literally we were bringing the savages civilization. I was like,
you're like, we got it back up here.
Wait. So I start to go into it. It's like at the cost of the whip. It was like, they were lazy. I was like, they were not lazy. They didn't want to build your roads.
Exactly.
That's not the same. And we went on like that and on. But to him, that was the mentality.
Yeah.
And what was angering me so much was that to him, he was like, because the end justified the means. When you're in an objective-based mentality, the end justified the means. So to bring those savages civilization, then any mean was justified. And God knows they used that.
And that, like you said, when you said to do that, to whatever they need to do, any means necessary, that is because what they had was an objective and they did not have constraints guiding the process. So, meaning, we can't be total fucking dicks about getting some roads built here. You know what I mean? Let's put the whip down. We're not going to do that.
Constraints is, instead of constraint, they had, so an objective is please see the podcast Objective versus Constraint, because to me it is one of the most important concepts we ever talked about. It is what has changed my life profoundly and StrongFit almost completely because of that, the realization of objective versus constraint. It has changed my life. So I urge you to see it. But objective based is a convergent mindset. Convergent means what? Means the end justify the mean, because the only thing that matters is the end. So therefore, in that sense, whatever gets you closer to the end is good. So then, by definition, the end justify the means. Whereas a constraint-based system is a divergent mindset where it goes the other way. Instead of the end justify the means, it's basically the means justify the end. In the sense of you start with certain constraints and wherever it goes, it goes. And we don't know where it's going, which is where people are not comfortable.
And the truth is when you say on the other side, where it's like, we want to go here, let's start putting things into place to go exactly here. The problem is, you may not want to be there by the time you get there. You might not fucking get there. You maybe should be going some other direction.
And you don't know how to get there.
That's
the thing. That's what kills me with the whole thing. Once you understand it properly, it's like you're assuming that to get there is a linear direction. You don't know the future.
I've run into that with any businesses that I've been a part of, where we do it's the way that just doesn't work. You set a thing, and we just back up and we go, okay,
exactly.
Right. And
that's not true.
And it's just not the way it works.
Nothing in life works like that. They talk about it in economics. They talk about it. So that's a black swan event. They talk about it in psychology with the growth mindset. Yeah. Like the key is you cannot figure out the future. So they go like, well, we know more or less, and we know more or less how to get there. No. Yeah. It's not a 80-20. You don't know how to get there. That is not true. You don't. You cannot foretell the future.
For a real life example, in business, the company I worked for did lots of geothermal systems in which you drill big wells down into the loops into the ground. It's very efficient. And for big farming operations and things like that, and big places, good to have. Government had some really good programs over the years to incentivize people to do that, right? They give you money back. If it was on a farm, you get lots of money back, and all those things. So living where we live, where lots of heat, lots of cooling. So when that technology started to catch up to the incentives, then the company I worked for, we did a ton of it. And we had kind of the best name in the geothermal space. I was traveling anywhere, but I would go 3 to 4 hours away to go on a service call. Like, my stuff's not working, but like, go fix it and come back. Not having all the, you know what I mean? It's a big risk. It's thousands and thousands of dollars for me to show up that far away. Yeah. But that's just the way that it was. So we had that market cornered. My boss knew he needed to get into something that was just more customer based, because those singular things don't give you constant reviews and constant interaction, constant impact. Yeah. And so he just wanted to make sure he kept moving the business into a healthier space. In doing that, after about a year after we had peaked, where we had done, I think, 70 some geothermal systems in a year, like that are anywhere from $80,000 to $500,000 each.
Oh, yeah, some massive ones.
Huge, yeah. And so, but we get to that point, and all of a sudden the government incentives are not renewed. And now, financially, it's, well, why would you spend 10 times as much money to have the system put in if you're not going to get any improvement in? And so, like, then the money didn't add up and it didn't work. And we did one the next year and one the year after that. Now imagine if we set our sights, like, we're going to be the geothermal people. Exactly. We're going to bring in the right guys. We're booming. Let's double down.
Then your company would be, but that's
be totally fucked.
Totally fucked. That's the problem with the whole, like, I'm going to predict the future. Is like, on that linear road, like, you will have consequences popping up that you cannot predict.
Yeah.
So, by the way, like, that objective based, can you get to D still? Yeah, and a lot of people do it. The problem is, by going to D, you have created a massive amount of consequences that you didn't see, and you can be stubborn enough and still make it to D. But now that has ruined everything on the side. This is the same thing as people saying, like, I'm going to gain 10 kilos of muscle. Let's talk bodybuilding. Yeah. I'm going to gain 10 kilos of muscle. Okay, I'm going to do growth hormone, insulin, 2 grams of testosterone and everything. I'm like, yes, right. Did you get the 10 kilos of muscle? Yes, you did. Because it will work. Yeah. If you take that shit, like we have friends, it will work. That's not a problem.
Hate to break it to you guys, drugs work.
Fuck yeah. I want 10 kilos of muscle. Yeah, I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Like I know people. But so, and let's say I'm like, I don't care, objective-based mentality. It's about getting 10 kilos of muscle. Did I do it? Yes. But what I failed to mention is that I'm going to die in the next 4 years.
And what it became, what you got, really wasn't what you wanted. You wanted 10 kilos of muscle, but you didn't actually zoom out and apply the constraints. But you know what I wanted? I want to live longer. I want to look better.
I wanted to look in the mirror and be proud of myself. Yeah. That's what those 10 kilos of muscle are. It's like, I want to be strong. I want to look like He-Man. I want to, you know what I mean? Like, maybe not He-Man, because that's the gayest thing ever. But
it's up there.
Let's be honest.
It's mostly the haircut.
It's a gayest
Speedo,
haircut ever.
The Speedo, it's very European.
You know, like, because it was called Musclor in French, which was such a good name. Because, you know, there's Spector, what was the...
Skeletor?
Skeletor, yeah. Skeletor, and then Musclor.
I have no
idea.
Musclor.
Musclor.
Okay.
Because we say muscle in French.
Okay.
So it became Musclor.
Okay.
So I came here and it was He-Man. I was like, well, who the fuck is He-Man? I don't get it. Yeah, Musclor. It was such a better name. Give me a break. And I didn't know it became like the logo of the gay community for the gay male community was using him. I was so disappointed. He was my hero growing up. Anyway, but he was such a wuss.
It's like
I realize how big of a wuss he was now.
I remember seeing a thing they were talking about the band Judas Priest, and it was on like VH1 way back in the day. You know, he would wear like leather studded deal, and Marilyn Manson was interviewed, and he was talking about how, I found out like just like however 10 years ago or whatever that Rob Halford was gay, and I looked at it and I was like, cannot believe I didn't catch that. You know
I didn't either.
Yeah,
he was
totally.
gay.
Yeah, and now when you look back, you're like, oh, that sounds about right.
Okay.
Half of his thing is basically a Freddie Mercury outfit on stage.
Exactly.
You know?
I found out actually when I was 14, 15, Elton John and Freddie Mercury were gay, and I was like, what? Yes, that was fairly obvious. Anyway, so he meant, but so the 10 kilo of muscle is for that though.
Yeah.
I want to feel strong. I want to look in the mirror and be proud and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is instead of constraints of I want to feel strong, I want to be strong, all that stuff, those are constraints. You go to an objective, which is 10 kilos of muscle. Now, you feel like shit all day because you're taking so much stuff. Your lifespan is decreased. And it's not enough. Anyway, I mean, like, so you're not foreseeing all the problems that come with those 10 kilos of muscle.
And I think it's important to mention when you talked about the person who says, I want to gain 10 kilos of muscle, really wanting to just like themselves when they look in the mirror, you know what I mean? That might be, or let other people like
There is no competition based on 10 kilos of muscle.
Exactly.
You're not winning anything. So it's about you, not the 10 kilos.
And so what that is they rush and they get that 10 kilos of muscle because they set the objective. Instead of what they should have done was known that wanting to look better and like the way they look in the mirror requires more than just 10 kilos of muscles. It might also require 10 kilos of muscles.
It might require.
It should. Whatever, it should.
Always.
But
it's one of the constraints.
Yeah, but you maybe have to work on doing things that you are proud of and becoming a person, and so that all of that fits together.
And from a pure hardware software perspective, so there's a psychology of it where you're going to have actually look in the mirror and be proud of what you have accomplished. That's very important. But even that, we talked about it in the heart and the sense of self. To be proud of yourself, your system has to work correctly. Your heart has to work in a way that the signal that is sending the brain are interpreted are good signals. Yeah. So when you fuck up your heart, getting to the 10 kilos of muscle, you are making sure you'll never be happy with it. So you are not reaching, you're reaching the objective, but you're not. So see, that's why you're never happy about it.
Which is why what those people do is set another objective. Everyone who wants to lose 10 pounds has to lose another 10.
No one is ever happy losing 10. I've never seen someone who goes like, I'm good. Yeah. I'm going to stay like that. I'm happy with the way I am. Yeah. Because objective-based stuff does not work. Yeah. That is another measure of control.
So we talked about how that kind of, like somebody sets objectives and then it just runs them the wrong way, right? And so let's talk about this from like from say the school standpoint, like education standpoint.
Right. This is where it's
when then you have to look at the job of whoever is going to design the education system for the United States or whatever.
The Western world.
That's somewhere in there they said, okay, what do we need this system to produce? And I think that it's clear to me that the system needs to produce people who can work and contribute to a capitalist society. Meaning you got to be able to do work you don't want to do, generally speaking, because that's why they have to pay you money. Or
because you don't have a choice. But by the way, let's talk about this real quick. Like the difference between an objective and a constraint, for example, and one of the biggest differences is whenever you do something, you can only have one objective. Maybe two at the max. You can have as many constraints as you want, but you're limited in the amount of objectives that you can have. If you have 5 objectives at once, they're going to clash. Yeah. It's like saying, I want 10 kilos of muscle, but not gain fat. That's going to be hard.
So we run into, if you want to talk about a way to make sure that you're going to get involved with someone coaching you and you want to make it not work, say, I want to get stronger, but I don't want to give up any of my conditioning, and I want to get leaner, and I want to get taller. And I'm like, all right, well,
exactly. You know? So the more objectives you are, the more they clash with each other.
Yeah. And the less likely you are to get
anywhere. But that's the problem with objectives. It's because they're convergent. That means by definition, you can't have that many.
Before you even get closer.
If you want one objective, you have many more chances to reach one objective than 2. Why? Because it's a convergent mentality. Whereas you can have as many constraints as you want. And the more constraints you place, the more likely you are to get to where you want to be. Yeah. That's the biggest difference between objective, one of the biggest differences.
And if I needed to design a system to educate people to work within kind of normal business systems post-industrial revolution, where it's like there is a work and there is a checklist, and you are apt at this and you keep and everything is a system that has to be worked within, and you're just thriving in this thing that really is already there for you. So it's just about productivity, generally speaking, of course, you know what I mean?
But that's a different stuff. So let's start the podcast. We're going to go out all this. So where did the matrix start, and why is it different now? There are two. If you look at human history, there are many, very important black swan events. But I believe in the last 200 years, there's two main ones, which is the Industrial Revolution started, and then the Henry Ford, and after that, and all that stuff. But then the internet is the second one. The internet has changed the world more than, like the Gutenberg press in the 14th, 15th century, something like that. I have to check. Changed the world, was a black swan event. But it was powered by the church.
I believe it.
Yeah. So the church actually is the one who bankrolled Gutenberg, because they wanted to print Bibles, because they knew they were going to then control everybody. What they did not understand,
highest selling book of all time.
Exactly. What they did not understand, there's a black swan for you.
Yeah.
What they did not understand is that by doing that, they would take the power away from priests, because priests were the only one educated enough to copy books. So by creating that, they allowed books that they did not want to be out there.
And then all of a sudden,
they were their own demise.
And then all of a sudden, those books can be interpreted by anybody.
Exactly.
I can read it and draw.
Because it promotes reading and writing. And so they actually, by trying to get more stuff out there, they ruin themselves. The irony of it shows you objective versus, that I find very important. But the internet has done exactly the same thing. It was not created to be what it is today, but what it done is it's a divergent mindset. It started a constraint based on information and knowledge that is changing society. So now, I believe is that we do not need to, we have the tools to get away from the matrix. So, which brings the question, what is the matrix? So, what is the matrix?
Before I start, we went into some of these examples in depth in the Black Swan podcast, I believe. And then I think some of it was also done. But the matrix side, I think we talked to some of it in there. And I always look at it like this. Where are you putting your energy that it's not doing you any good? That's where I start. You want to know what the matrix is?
That's the definition of the matrix.
That's kind of what it is,
that's
right?
Exactly
You're getting milked. And I see it for me, it's social media, food, booze. Generally speaking.
The mass of men live a life of quiet despair.
And so it's very easy to get these things like your sympathetic fix that reaction that you should be getting from
let's
doing
expand all
things
this.
From just these things that are presented very easy in front of you.
So let's talk about all this. What is the matrix and where does it come from? To me, the matrix started. There's been different matrices, but
we'll call them matri. Is that the plural form of matrix?
No, because it'd be matrix.
I made it up now. It's a real word.
There you
go. Like hippopotami. Or
exactly.
octopi.
Yeah. Technically, they should be. Cactus. So
sorry.
What is the matrix? Where does it? So the matrix that we live in and we're trying to get away from, that has so much damaging effects, I believe, right now on the human system, is not the start of capitalism, but really like the Industrial Revolution.
There's money behind all of what they're taking, and there's always money behind it.
And then it's basically the Industrial Revolution. That's what really, to me, created the matrix, or allowed the matrix to be created, was the Industrial Revolution. How did it do that? Through the creation of the school system. Many ways, but the big one was the school system. So what is the school system? What does it require? It requires kids. So why was it created the way it was created? Again, Industrial Revolution means factories. Factories means one place. You need to centralize the population. If you have farms, they're completely spread out, right? Less communication between people, but how do you get them to do what you want? That's a problem. The second the Western world starts in the Industrial Revolution, they have to centralize everybody in cities. So you start to pull the farmers out, you put them into one place. Now everybody starts working. That presents a problem. Is like, how do you keep the machine being fed? You need more little soldiers. So that's how we're going to do with the kids, right? We're going to turn them into so get them away from the farm where they're learning that skill and get them to learn the skill
where they're essentially producing value for themselves and for a small
Exactly.
and for a smaller
Learning
community.
skills. Right,
Yeah.
because you don't need skill when you work at a factory.
Yeah.
So you already start with a dumbing down of human capacity. Because in a factory, you don't need nearly as much skills as you do on a farm or stuff like that, right? You don't need to read, you don't need much stuff.
And as things become systematized, you just keep moving through those roads.
Right, and so what you need is you need a system in place that helps you keep track, keep pace with the technology. Right, here comes the school system. So kids love it because instead of being on the farms, they just have to sit at a desk and write. That sounds a lot more fun than having to wake up at 6 a.m. to do your chores, right? So the parents are happy because they can take care of them. That way, women can start working, all the stuff. You know, everybody
And then you have
is
more contributors.
happy. Exactly. So now you're basically feeding the system. And the system is really, really strong. Remember at the time, rich people rich people's kids do not go to those schools. Those were schools created for the masses. People forget. Rich people had tutors. The English system, they had private tutors that would come home. Kids were homeschooled. Rich kids were always homeschooled. Why? Because it works better. This is the university system created by Leonardo da Vinci. I think I talked about it in a podcast where that's how he got the king. Can't remember the name, so I'm not going to fuck that one up. But that's what actually university means, I believe. Like the term is actually, it's a one-on-one type of teaching. When do you learn? You start to learn in masters and especially PhD. PhD level is where you actually truly learn. Why? Because you have a mentor and it's a one-on-one stuff in a specialized area. The whole thing at the beginning is just to make you follow a system. It's an obedience school. That's what school is. So the beginning of the matrix is the school, which is an obedience school, which is telling you to stick in your little lane so that you can go to the factory. How do they do that? By setting a system of objective, which is we're going to grade your papers. And if you don't understand a subject, which is based not on understanding, actually, on memorization. If you don't memorize a subject, you get a D or a 0 or whatever, and then you get your parent whooping you at school, because if you keep failing, they're going to send you away from school. But then your parents, instead of going to work, they have to take care of you. So you get whooped and you're back in the system.
I think what I've noticed too with having my son homeschool for the last year or so is I'm not just inventing the curriculum, obviously. He's running through an online school, but he's doing it at home. And what I do though is they basically just have each semester's worth of all of the work in every class listed. So I can just go to English and I could literally do every single English or language arts assignment in a row if you wanted to. And then he could go, which is kind of what we've been doing. So what we're finding is, like, I've been doing that actually for a long time with him, is he'll start doing math and he's pretty good at math. So he'll do about 25 math assignments in 2 days and turn them all in, and fucking his math teacher is like, fuck, I hadn't heard from this kid in a month because he was doing other classes and now I got a lot of shit to grade. But then we kind of draw a line a little bit. So, okay, we got to pick something else, and he'll do something he hates, maybe, for 4 or 5 assignments or something that's longer. And then when he tires of it, I'm like, well, there's this batch of stuff here. And that little bit of structural change makes me know for sure, though, like, how much can you fucking learn about math in 45 minutes?
No, but plus he brings another point about this, because I went through it as well. How many hours a day?
2,
3, right?
Maybe.
Right. I went to school 8 hours a day. So that tells you what is school for. Right, so socialization, but what kind of socialization? Learning you to play nice with groups of people you don't necessarily like, so you can be better in a factory. Because that's called the workplace.
That really is.
Right, this is what they're teaching the kids to be little soldier, because that's what the system needs. Right, remember bullshit jobs? Again, the mass of men, this is what this is. This is where the matrix started. So now, how do you keep people doing shit they don't like? Right? So that's what we're going to talk about. So
I like to go the other side of it, though, is that debt. They need you to then want to do the same thing in college, and then you'll get saddled with debt, and then you actually have to do the work that's at the end of it.
But I believe it goes further.
We've handcuffed you to the thing.
So I'm going to go into a bigger conspiracy than usually you do.
I love it.
So there you go. There's a conspiracy, Julien. I believe the system, again, not with an evil intent. I wish there was someone at the head of the conspiracy, because then we could just put him, shoot him in the head, and we'd be fine.
Because for it to exist this way, it kind of has to be this way. I always use the analogy, like, Danny DeVito's a pretty good actor, actually. If you see him act in theater, Danny DeVito is a really good actor.
Yes.
And do you want to know why Danny DeVito's a really good actor? I'm just speculating here. Because look at him.
Yeah.
He probably kind of needs it to be that way.
He had to. Yeah.
And so that's the thing. He needed to be really fucking good at something. And it's the only way he's going to do it. And with this system, the only way this system is going to be successful or even be able to exist and deal is that it has to kind of feed itself this way. So
to me, simple stuff. How do you keep people doing what they don't want to do? Is you need a person that does not have too high of a sense of self. Because the second you start to believe in yourself too much, what you do, you go outside the lines.
Pull the cord out.
And then it takes someone, but imagine the strength of your sense of self or the amount of neurosis you're going to create within yourself where you refuse to go society's way, where from the time you're 5 till the time you're 20 plus, so your formative years are being done shoving you into objective-based mentality and telling you that the second you step out, you're going to get whacked real hard by everybody, and including your parents and society. That's a rough one, right? So how do you keep the sense of self to not develop past a certain degree? From a hardware perspective, there are different ways of looking at it. And I think that's where my conspiracy comes in, where I think the entire system is designed for that. So if I don't want to grow a sense of self that is too big, that means I cannot look inside, right? So, but if you don't look inside, you feel nothing. That is not productive. So how would I keep...
It's also not valuable to me as someone who needs you to, as a part of a system, I need you to spend some money on my products. I need you to
And I need you to get better.
Yeah.
Because the stuff has to progress. Otherwise, remember, point of life is complexity. So complexity still requires the elements of it to get better. So I need you to get better, but to get better within the system and not want to step outside of the system,
so
which is always the problem.
But that's why I need you to not be focusing internally.
Exactly.
Right? I need that mirror needs to focus to go away.
Me. Yeah. I need you to focus on me, the system, not you as a person. So how do I do that? Well, simple. If you not focusing inside, that's by the way, on hardware perspective, that's a parasympathetic and software parasympathetic side of the equation. How do I get the look not going inside outside? That's very simple. I trigger a sympathetic reaction. Sympathetic reaction is literally when you have to go outward. Why? It's a simple system that we have where that is a self-defense mechanism, because when the bear is coming, I don't have time for you to ponder of the philosophy and the duality of mankind.
Yeah, because if a wolf comes in here, right away, right now, we got to react now. We don't get to be like, why is the wolf here?
Yeah, and let's not talk about the despair that we feel toward, no.
What is happening?
Exactly.
Like, no, but the first thing
but you remember when no, that doesn't work well.
What's going to happen is your heart is going to just hammer into your gut and back into your throat, and everything is going to get real sharp.
And so, but it is a fact that when the sympathetic is triggered, your sense become more acute. Right. So you are more aware. You feel aware, but you are aware of the exterior, of the outside world. You're not aware. It's actually shift the awareness from inside to outside for very good reasons.
And I want to clarify too. So what I just mentioned, the analogy of the wolf, that's going to be extreme, kind of an extreme sympathetic reaction. Which
doesn't happen often.
Which that we don't want people. If I need you focusing outwardly, I don't want you at that point all the time. So what I need is not the type of extreme sympathetic reaction that is going to actually protect you or maybe be productive for you in training even. It's low grade.
The system needs a low grade sympathetic response. Because the low-grade sympathetic response allows you to take the look that should be inside toward the outside. So that
but not enough to do anything about it.
Not too much. Not too much either, because, by the way, first you get tired, and second of all, you start fighting. If you start fighting your coworker, you're not a good thing for the system. You're only productive for the system in a low-grade sympathetic environment. So what is school? School is a teacher saying, if you don't listen, I'm going to whack you. But you can't basically be so scared that you actually fight the teacher. What if the teacher were actually scaring you so badly
that you spend the whole time with your head in your hands?
Or you start fighting back. You start, bitch, I'm going to stab you. Right. But if you look, that's why teachers, like the nuns are first, were whacking people. But I got people, by the time 12, 13, I'm like, if you touch me, bitch, it's on. Right. But so that was too much. So the system has evolved where it's like, no, you're not allowed to to hate the kids anymore. You can scare the fuck out of them. Get your parents to beat you up, but not the teacher.
My favorite line ever. I was in school one time and this teacher said something to a kid. We were maybe like 14. And this kid was a little bit of a badass anyways, kind of a troublemaker. And he said, and the teacher was fed up with him. It's like, I just wish I could just hit you. And he stone cold looked her dead in the eyes in front of the whole class and said, my mom hit me once. Just once.
He's a badass.
So I was like,
kid.
Dude.
Yeah.
And then of course drug out. But I think it's interesting that it can't be progressed so far because you can't have kids in freeze either. Or in flight, just like being like, I'm not going to this place. I'm not going to school. It's too much. So it's got to be just enough.
Right. And so actually they're running into that problem is how far is too far.
And so what about, though, then you mentioned before in previous podcasts about the chemical side of this too, then. That becomes a bit addicting.
Extremely addictive.
Because it's just a little bit
plus there's another problem. You're not looking in. Or when you look in, you're in a quiet despair because you're doing stuff that you don't want. So your choices are not feeling anything, which is better than feeling horrible, right? So, or past that, which the next best thing is instead of not feeling anything, you're going to feel a little bit about the outside world. If I have a choice of not feeling anything or feeling horrible or actually enjoying paying attention to the outside world, which one am I going to choose? Obviously, by the way, a low sympathetic response is enjoyable. Your senses are picking up, energy level goes up, right? You are feeling awesome. That's the fight mode. Right. So if you do it a little bit, it feels awesome, right? So because your senses are acute, you're not thinking about how shit your life is. Right. So guess what? That's great. That's called also brain serotonin, right? Brain serotonin is developed in the sense of acute stress. So it's a buffer with the sympathetic and all that stuff, but all this makes it's a mood stabilizer. So
you feel good.
Right. So, but again, if the opposite of that is feeling like shit because you hate your life, then it feels awesome. If you love your life, you don't want those small fights because I'm busy enjoying life. But if you don't, then that's a reprieve. That's your quiet despair does not have to be quiet despair on the contrary, but suddenly you're going to feel alive. When you're always in that state of quiet despair, stuff like that, you don't feel alive. That low-grade sympathetic response makes you feel alive because at that moment, technically you are, because you are paying attention to the world. And that's the blue pill. That's what the blue pill is. It's that low-grade sympathetic response that allows you not to feel the despair of what your life is.
So the nature that it is low-grade, that doesn't conflict then with what you said before about how we actually are
don't go into real sympathetic stuff.
Real sympathetic, and it's because we have this like constant pull where we're just always kind of pushed into this place or choosing to go to this place.
We're going sympathetic the wrong way. Through a low grade mostly, and then we're going to attack the way to get there instead of having a true sympathetic response to the wolf is coming. There's no more wolves. Coming. Like you don't have to hunt for anything, you don't have to hunt for food, you don't have to even hunt for women. Like all of those fucking wusses out there now going like, but like...
By the way, my son's going to come back probably with one of those haircuts, just so you know.
No, but like we live in Holland where they pay attention to their hair. But I was talking to a woman actually here who was like, where are the men now? I know it's going to sound sexist and all that stuff, but I've dated a lot, sorry, I shouldn't say a lot. I've dated some women in my life, mostly black Latinas. And I've heard that notion spoken aloud more than a few times. It's not helping. Today's society is not
because it's so almost off limits to even have a next level.
Look at masculinity. But let's take what to me is the most important influential force in today, which is the media. Right. When was the last time you had a strong, smart man portrayed? Who's not gay? Because if he's strong and smart, he's gay. Like if you look at TV in the US, I believe a lot of the problem with the American culture actually comes from the fact that Hollywood has a grip on the American culture. That's the problem with American exceptionalism, is that he gave the reins of power to Hollywood. It's Washington is just an extension of the bullshit movies about America is the greatest.
Exactly.
That has been going on for fucking 60 years now.
And what we kind of talked about in the beginning is that like that same everything has to get funneled through that thing before people consume it. But then the internet comes out and boom, everything's decentralized.
That's why you see
But now what do you see out of the internet? You see that it got away from them.
Yeah.
The truth is, it got away from them. It came with this little technology, and it got way bigger than they thought.
And they didn't like it.
Now look at what every single government and country is doing, including the United States. Yeah. They are scrambling to grab control back.
And then you see it even from within the system with podcasts. Podcasts was the way out of the system where we can say what we want. And guess what? The system is finding the way to bring everything back in. Yeah. YouTube, Google, last stuff. We show that.
They're like, these people are getting too far out. Our advertisement.
They're starting to control back in. Joe Rogan, now that he has so much power, the pressure that must be pumping on him.
Ask
because he doesn't get paid for it.
Yeah.
But him, the only reason he's still independent is because he refuses to take the money.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need to. But if he were to monetize truly the podcast like he should, it'd be within the system in a quarter of a second.
And it still is getting close to that way simply because you have a large audience. A massive audience, you're going to behave differently.
Because he get demonetized just for talking about transgender people.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't kick out of what you call Twitter by now.
Yeah.
But stuff. So, I mean, like free speech, my ass. So in that case, so the internet has brought that, but
now you see it all coming back in. So you see
that's
them
what
having
the system
to
does,
the
man.
internet. It got away, but that Hollywood filter was the thing, and everything went through, and that's an easy way to promote on their state.
How do you put
country by country?
300 million Americans in a factory? American exceptionalism. It's the easiest way to do it, but when you say, but you're doing it for America.
Yeah.
If you work 12 hours a day in a shitty job, you're making America stronger. And Hollywood promoted American exceptionalism.
And look at the birth of all of those things, that timeline.
Independence Day.
You're looking at essentially right out of the World War I and then progressing deeply across World War II.
And past World War II when America took control.
And then now you have this rising thing of this, like it's nationalism and separatism. It's like you can impart those values on not everybody, but on a pretty high percentage of them, depending on what you show.
But where else are you going to go with American exceptionalism, if not nationalism?
Yeah,
it's the move. Because eventually you're going to stop being number one. Like all empires, you start to run out of steam. And America was number one because Europe was down.
Yeah.
So America did it not at the expense of Europe, because America helped Europe grow back up. Yeah. But now that they brought Europe back up, they can't be number one like they were before, because the building phase is over. And so now exceptionalism will go toward nationalism. There is no other way. It's a natural progression of the system. It's an objective-based system. It has to go somewhere. So a new objective is being formulated in American culture.
And what's interesting is, though, some of those, as a black swan happens from within those things.
Always.
What you see is it is somebody from, maybe not within the system, but who is choosing not to go to take that convergent mindset.
Yes,
it's not the way. So look at
that's what internet did.
I watched a really great thing while I was putting a bunch of content together for our business, the affiliate program stuff. And one of the things I saw was Steve Jobs' first ever iPod presentation, which is like this kind of shitty PowerPoint and like
it's 20 years now.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah.
But what was interesting is if you look at what was going on in that era in technology, computers were there. There was Discmans, so you could carry CDs. So these were concepts that didn't fucking exist. An MP3 player kind of existed, the technology, but there was no way to get. So there is no way to get MP3s centrally. Meaning it doesn't mean anything other than you have to buy the CD and rip it and do all this work.
Yeah, that's how I used to do it.
Meaning that's a barrier when you look at a convergent mindset. Like, fuck, we got to, well, there's no reason to do this. We can't.
Yeah.
Instead, what he says, well, fuck it. We're going to make the platform. We're going to make iTunes so that it can do it.
Happens.
Then I'm going to make the technology that allows us to do it. And then now look at what music is not even a physical product anymore. It's only streaming. Everything is on the Apple product in your pocket.
It's not even on the iPod anymore.
Nope.
It's streamed now.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that thing, though, and economically, look back at every single major upturn. You talk about how fitting black swans. That's how, like, all of a sudden somebody like transcends the matrix almost for a moment until they got to get everything back. But that's things like the invention of the internet, the amount of boom outside chaotic thinking that can come from that now begets a scramble to tie it back up.
And now they're trying to. They're trying to control back in, because otherwise it creates too many divergence.
Yeah,
And the system does not like it because it's a system, it's an objective-based system. That's the mistake we made.
Because everybody cannot, if everybody invented something with the novel value to society as the iPod and the platform, or the airplane, or the automobile, or whatever.
But you would probably destroy economies by doing that.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, you would actually, not probably. Yeah. Like there's certain invention today that if they came out right now, would destroy economies. Amazon.com is destroying the retail industry. Yeah. Like, so it's doing it slowly enough. But if you were to truly come up with something completely novel, the system could not accept that because you would fuck up the whole thing. Yeah. There are powerful self-defense mechanisms in place. Yeah. Yeah. But so no, that's the matrix to me. So now, what is the blue pill versus the red pill? The blue pill to me is that low-grade sympathetic reaction that allows you to focus on the world and allow you to do the stuff you don't want to do. How do we get there? All right, let me list you all the ways. For example, and this is a conspiracy that comes in. What are the ways to parasympathetic versus sympathetic from a movement perspective? For example, proprioception, what I talk about all the time. This part of the hand or this part of the foot, when you press in, is more toward internal torque, and internal torque is more toward the parasympathetic side of it. If you know that, if you've been following me. Right. So if I go toward the outside of the foot or the outside of the hand here, is more toward external torque, right? External torque promotes a sympathetic reaction. So if I'm correct, that would mean that we would promote an external torque system continuously to put people in a low sympathetic grade response. So I look at physios training. What do? It's that whole like scapular work or all that stuff. It's always in external torque. The shoes that you have, where is the padding? The padding is inside, numbing the internal torque, making you step on your heel and the outside of your foot, which is toward the external torque, back toward the sympathetic. Food, caffeine, sugar, carbs, all triggers of the sympathetic nervous system. What music do you listen? Now you're going to listen to the Disney princesses, but most of the time it's hard rock, it's low frequency sound that promotes a sympathetic response. Smell, we mouth breathe all the time, provoking a sympathetic response. It goes on and on and on and on and on like that. The smell stuff, it's all creating a low grade sympathetic response. What do we see as the biggest problem for health? A low grade inflammation. Guess what? Inflammation is a sympathetic response. Most of the problem that we are trying to fight comes from the fact that we are in a low grade sympathetic response constantly. And then that's what the No Fix November was the beginning of, so we can get the fucking power back.
Because then you remove the carbs and the caffeine, the sugar, the alcohol.
One way, yeah. And then what do? I'm going to remove the sound. I'm going to not remove the sound. I'm going to add some high frequency so you can reset that fucking balance that is completely screwed toward a sympathetic response to everything. You respond to everything in a sympathetic way. Why? Because you are being shepherded there, in a herded there, sorry. Why? Like, for example, shoes, for example, food, for example, like breathing, all that stuff leads to the same place, to the matrix. I believe the blue pills are everywhere. And so to be able, the red pill means individuality, but not the way like I do whatever the fuck I want, the way like getting your own behavior back, looking inside. Yeah. That's expensive and it can be painful.
How does one then reconcile, well, maybe I don't want to go that direction. What do you do then, like, with all the noise? Like, because it is there, I don't know that it's going anywhere.
No, it's not going to go anywhere. But I mean, individually, that means that you have, first of all, the only way to know there's a prison is to see the bars. Yeah. If you don't see the metal bars, you don't know you're in a prison. And are the bars going to be there? Yes. But there are ways, maybe not slip through, but at least to look at the mountains on the other side through the bars. But do you want to, it's always the same. It's like, are you better off not knowing there are bars, not knowing you're in a prison? And to some people, the answer is yes. Some people will choose the blue pill. I refuse that.
To take the analogy from the movie, it is.
Some people want back in.
Some people, because you know what happens when you get out? You know what? You're going to live on the fucking Nebuchadnezzar's busted ass dirty cold ship with a bunch of sweaty people
And
that ain't
the food
showered in
doesn't
months,
taste as
and you're
good,
gonna go
yeah.
to some fucking stanky cave, and
And you
you know
have
what I
to,
mean?
and
Like
you have
that's
to
not.
realize that you have to fight the robots,
Yeah.
and someone is out to kill you.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's like I don't know. I'd much rather just.
to some
tune it
people,
out.
they don't want it.
And that's where I go back to the thing where, like, when we've talked about this as a system, as a capitalist system that feeds it, is people will always say, well, geez, not everybody can just be living their dreams. Somebody's got to shovel shit off the street or something. I'm like, okay, but I do believe there's probably going to be plenty of people that will choose to go back with the blue pill.
No,
Or
but
that
by
just
the way,
aren't
that's
ready.
not
Like,
even
I just
true.
don't even get
because
that.
robots will get to it.
Yes, eventually,
Automatization is
Yeah.
taking care of that.
But you understand what I
Yeah,
mean.
no, I know
And that,
exactly
like,
what you mean.
In that, like, there will be people who are just going to just stay with it. I mean,
No, but plus, like, that's true, but the number of, by the way, like people say someone has to be gardeners. There's plenty of people that love being gardeners, right?
If my
so we are
father,
talking.
if my father retired from school teaching tomorrow, he would do lawn care work for people in the summer. It's exactly what he would do.
Right.
Till the
So
day he died.
and there's me. As long as you're a craftsman, like if you introduce me to a gardener, like a master gardener tomorrow, I will spend the summer learning from him because I want to see how he looks at things and stuff like that. So we're talking about very specific job, literally like shoving shit or stuff like that. I don't want like all the other stuff are crafts.
Yeah.
All right. So there's some of
There's
that.
a way,
So
yeah.
we'll pay extra, and some people will enjoy money more than the stuff, and they'll be happy because they're making more money than everybody else. So some people will do that, but that's not the real problem. The real problem is that the system is putting you now in today's society, like because he basically got to a point where you're being fed a blue pill from 27 different sources continuously. So can you live within, first of all, to answer your question, can you live with knowing that without sound continuously? Yes, you can. And I believe that's the goal. It's like you have to. Do I mean I'm going to go live on a commune somewhere and get away from capitalism? Not at all.
No,
but that doesn't mean I don't.
Stuff.
Yes, I love stuff. That doesn't mean I love technology and I love being able. But that doesn't mean that I don't see the bars. And I won't remove the bars. I just don't want to crash the system for it. Mm-hmm. I believe that the system is sound, but was started as an objective-based, which was a mistake, that we can transform them into a constraint-based system. And that system that is evolving, that will always evolve, because I am not stronger than the system, can be reshaped into something more valuable for humankind by going from objective-based to constraint-based. Now, we just have to establish what the constraints are. But in the meantime, we have to recognize the fact that we are being given blue pills.
I think, like they did in the movie, like you can't. We're not going to fight the machines. We're not going to beat the Matrix right now.
We all die if we do this.
And that's the thing is, we don't even know how to do that, how to change the system for it. But you can choose to at least live in the reality of the.
But what did Neo want? He wanted us to coexist with the machines.
Yeah,
that's the point. It's not Morpheus' way of let's get rid of all the machines. I'll disagree with that one. Let's live with the machine. Let's live with the system. Let's just make the system work for us instead of us working for the system.
Because I think people do think that there's so much back and forth between them and the economy and the internet and the things, the advertising. They think that it's an exchange of things, and it's like, no, you're being siphoned.
Yes.
And almost every step of the way, you're being siphoned from energy, like true energy, like an advertiser if I'm on Facebook as a business or Instagram and I want to advertise to you, I'm going to do everything in this convergent way. It is, what do I want? I want more likes. Well, no, what I really want is more people to learn from us and do our business and go to the thing. But that doesn't, more likes, clicks, those are just numbers that are completely,
they don't mean anything.
Also completely mediated by the people who you're paying to tell you who you're paying to make those numbers bigger.
Yeah. But no, we're being siphoned all the way.
Fun example.
Yeah.
IGTV, Instagram TV comes out. And to try to get people they started making sure that you could see it on the timelines too when you scroll. And then you could, if it's more than a minute, you could tap it and it'd open up IGTV. I love it because we can put some of our long form stuff on there. However, a video view on YouTube, we started noticing like these IGTV videos are getting 2 to 5 times as many views as these other ones. I looked at the like count, very similar to other similar content videos on our minute. And you know why? they're giving me because they wanted to encourage the use of that platform. So what they did was they just count. Normally, a like is counted after 3 seconds on your screen. Then that counts, or not a like. I'm sorry, not a like. A view. Yeah, it's counted after 3 seconds on your screen. That is counted again if you just tap it to watch it in IGTV. Meaning that's the same person watching the same thing.
But you get 2 likes,
2 likes,
2 views, 2 views on it. Yeah,
doubles it. And so immediately, and then you have double the engagement there, which then stretches you for, it's just this number in the algorithm that pulls it further and everything. But the whole fucking thing is not being seen by any more people, and it's not being any more used. But they sure got me to redirect a lot of our content into that platform. Yep. It still is useful to us, but that's how that game is played. They say, you want these numbers, pay us, we'll make these numbers better. All the way. Yep. And then they just make the numbers better. Yeah. And that's...
Yes.
We ran into it with Massonomics a lot, as we were learning how to do Facebook ads and shit like that. And I was like, I don't want more... Truthfully, I was like, I don't even want more like followers. I want more shirts to be sold.
Yeah,
that's the way we looked at it.
But that's what people don't understand with all this is all they're getting is more views. Mm-hmm. You're not getting anything out of the views, so who cares? Yeah,
nothing. And so
that's what I saw every time with those bullshit marketing stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm getting more views. I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's online dating.
You talk to me about reach.
No, but it's like it's online dating. Like I have more people seeing my profile. I'm like, who cares if that's not the ones I want, and if it doesn't result in more dates anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
What difference
or if they're all just the worst.
Right. What if it's not the people that I want?
Yeah.
So again, to go back to your point, because it's a very important one, it's like, well, okay, but so what do? We have to take red pills, if that's the choice, instead of blue pills. And the blue pills are everywhere from that low-grade sympathetic response. So what does that mean? That means we need to, that's what we've been trying to promote. So we have to, at least, I want you to see the bar. So that's what the No Fix November, that's one of the bars. Yeah. One of the prison bars. It was through low-grade sympathetic reaction created through substances. So we remove that. This month is going to be the sound. I'm going to give you more high frequency sound so that it promotes safety, so that can trigger a parasympathetic response, which allows you to look inside. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to do it more toward, what we promote to nasal breathing. Right, yeah. So why? Because that promotes the parasympathetic side instead of the sympathetic side. So
I've also been doing.
That's what the red pills are.
Yeah, and in working lately too, I've been doing, because we had talked back and forth when we got into the hearing thing with that with active meditation. Is I started looking into how your other senses apply, and one of the things that I've been playing with over the last couple of weeks was I bought just some basic ass normal incense, about a dozen different kinds.
Yes, smell.
And so talk about. I think it's understated how impactful these things can be, because I have you'll pick something that smells pleasant, not just pleasant to me in the moment, I enjoy it, versus my nose torque. You know what I mean? There's a scale, right, of what one is and what the other one is, and that means though to me what I would do is when I start working, I'll get up and have some cream and I get my stuff set up, and then it's a nice little routine too, have a little incense, but I can smell it, and then it is calming. It doesn't make me calm.
And he promotes nasal breathing.
Plus, I also get the
deep breath.
I get the connection too, which means I will crush all this productivity and do this stuff, and I have a great environment. Right. And I go into an environment isn't just sitting in the place with the right things set up. It is really like my smell, my hearing. That's my environment to my body.
It's a peripheral nervous system, which is why we have to reset. Yeah. So what is the red? So we explained the blue pill. Yeah. We explained the matrix. What is the red pill? The red pill is a reset of your peripheral nervous system. Mm-hmm. And how do we do that? Senses, all the senses. That's what the peripheral system collects the data from. It's going to be vision, we'll get to it, smell, touch, sense of taste as well, and what am I missing? Hearing. Yep. Right, so we're going to reset. That's what the red pill is a reset of all 5 to promote safety instead of that mild danger we are constantly under, because we promote it through blue pills.
And to prove to you that this can be changed, here's a good example.
Yes.
Where we're staying at this week, my Airbnb, is the city here. When you're in it, you are, the zoning, I think the zoning laws are, your front door needs to be more than 3 inches from the street. That's about it. So where we're there, I am hearing everything. Every car is, you got to remember, my house that I lived in back home was the size of essentially like 5 buildings end the street here. So I don't hear shit.
Yeah.
And then with the property, so now I'm in this place and I am hearing every goddamn bike lock, seeing every window.
Right.
You know, someone walks by the window, they're right there.
Yeah. And that's
3 feet
that
from
promotes.
me.
Yeah.
And it took me a while. Every time, every noise, every this, because it's closer to me.
It's dangerous
and
enough.
I know for a fact that by the end of the week, even this week, that I will be gradually just kind of desensitized to some of that now. I will that standard will be changed a little bit in that space, which is proof that this can be developed.
So the problem with that is a week from now, what will happen is that you will feel it less. But that does not mean that to your peripheral nervous system that is not happening.
Correct.
So you will have those sounds always promote danger.
Yeah.
You're just less receptive to it because that's what the body does through homeostasis.
Well, because it has to at some point.
Yes,
too.
no, but plus that's the way. You would never.
It'll pull normal to what.
No,
that
but plus
is.
you'd spend too much energy on small shit. Like you have to learn from your environment.
Yeah.
So that's the parasympathetic side promotes homeostasis because that's a learning environment.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's still promoting a sense of danger, a low-grade sympathetic response continuously. So we impacts your heart, impacts your sense of self.
So that does mean, though, if we started this way, if you started at this point, say a week or 2 weeks from now, where you're used to that, that then you could simply distance yourself from that stimulus. And then that first time again, after a little bit, that somebody is unlocking, or you hear a chain drop right outside your front door, you're going, whoa, you know. So this is it is malleable. You can move it. And I think those thresholds we can move in the directions that we need them.
So the key with, for example, from a hearing perspective is you are in a state where you're basically hearing people drop the stuff or locking. So you're always in that state of almost any sound is a sign of danger. So what we need to reset with a higher frequency sound so that you can reset that bar that was so high back into the middle, going like, no, not everything is dangerous.
If I ever heard the sound of a chain clank in my old house, while I'm in my bed, as close to me as I did last night,
you would grab the gun.
The gun is right there, always.
Exactly.
4
Someone
fingers, unlock, right there, we're good.
Someone is going to
At the very least, that's the thing that I have to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So,
it's
such okay. So I believe we do that with everything. I believe shoes promote that.
Yeah.
By getting us to proprioception on the outside of the foot, like it's all the studies I've been reading lately, even they were associating with proprioception as an ascending, so afferent feeling all the way to the heart. Remember, I sent you that and everything. Yeah, so that means that your shoes are promoting a low-grade sympathetic response, not to your brain, to your heart first, and then it goes to your sense of self in the brain.
And not because your shoes need you to do that, just because that result, whatever that happens after that, you know what I mean, the cascading effect, that just works better than the alternative for them.
That's where my conspiracy mind goes. It's like, is the system smart enough to figure that out? I believe once you put enough complexity in a system, you'll figure out anything. AlphaZero is very smart.
Also, if you look very deep into what some of the MK Ultra and the societal controls and how the CIA has done things with music, culture, and media, keep your eye out.
I believe the Nike shoes got work because that loss of connection inside, that loss of proprioception, made people less aware of themselves and more capable of accomplishing the objective, which is running 5K. So the system wins again. So I believe the red pill...
Because you got the objective.
Red pill is removing that low-grade sympathetic response from the environment, or if you cannot remove it, then reset it. Right? How do you reset it? By getting the red pill. So in some cases, by removing the blue pill, in a case of food or stuff like that, the sounds, we can't change that. But what we can do is we can add high frequency sounds to reset that. We can do that with proprioception. So you're gonna have to wear shoes, but maybe like the minimal shoes are better than the cushy ones. We can walk barefoot once in a while. We can work on engaging internal torque toward the inside of the foot, because that's some retraining has to be done. For the sense of smell, we can use, you're not going to change the smell of the streets, unfortunately, with pollution. What you can do is use incense and reset that. Same thing with, auditory, same thing with touch. We can use, for example, neoprene or ice bath to create a real sympathetic reaction. So because you got soft on that one. And on the same time, we can use other touches that are softer. I mean, there are ways to do all this.
And on a fundamental level, there's 3 actual steps involved in this that are going to sound simple, but like, the first is you have to know, be aware, that there is the matrix,
Exactly.
that is a thing that is there.
And what the blue pills are.
And then 2 is you have to not take the blue pill. That's the other step. And then the third is then you do have to take the red pill. You don't get to consume and live everything like you do with the blue pill, and then like do some red pill shit in the middle. It's not how it works.
I'm doing a little bit less blue pill. It's not, no. It's blue pill or red pill. And
because once you're in, it starts to pull you further, and it gets clear. It doesn't.
You have to choose.
Yeah.
Whether blue or red. Don't think you cannot choose, because we'll have that problem as well. Yeah. We'll have people that go like, I'm not taking the blue pill. Well, that doesn't mean you're taking the red pill though.
Exactly.
So we'll have a lot of that. Yeah. People are just gonna freeze and stall and look at Morpheus presenting both and never choosing. Mm-hmm. We'll have that issue, which is funny because it's not a choice in the Matrix movie, but it is a choice.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. What happens? You stay in the Matrix anyway, right? Yeah. But that's a problem we face, is the people that are, they might not consciously take the blue pill anymore to some degree, but they're not going to take the red pill, and therefore they're still within the system.
Yeah, and the way I would tie it with the movie is, if you're not going to take the blue pill, what you're going to do is Morpheus is going to walk the fuck away, and you're going to be in reality, and you're not going to be able to do anything to fix it.
Yeah, or Agent Smith is getting his hands on you. If you move away from Morpheus, that's what happens. Yeah, so the system will put you back in.
Yeah. So, but I think we did a fairly thorough job of tying those things in.
I think it was pretty good.
Yeah. I didn't get too deep into the weeds yet.
I have plenty of science to back me up on what I'm talking about.
I don't have any science to back up any of my conspiracy theories.
It goes back to the school system and what it's doing and everything, which I think one of the biggest change we can create in this world is we have to switch from an objective-based mentality to a constraint-based mentality, and it starts with the school system, because that's where the Matrix got its hold on us.
I noticed too, and I went to private Catholic school, but there's actually a more strict, regimented system. You know what I mean? But what I noticed from just asking around with people too is that from that system that I was in, I saw about, I would say 80% to 90% people come out, I'm going to use the term indoctrinated, and then the 10 to 20% come out way on the other extreme, like no to all of this. And I think that average is, let's pretend that's the average, 80% or 90% come in like, all right, I'm just not even oblivious to it, just in the system and thriving and doing it.
But maybe that's where the binary stuff that we suffer so much from now in society comes from. Because look at me with school. I'm not exactly not smart, but I went the anti-academic route for the longest time. I'm trying to bring myself back in. I'll never be an academic because I still think it's a fucked up system. But at the same time, I don't have to be anti-academic, where I was. So like I always have a problem with authority anyway. But that has hurt me in some stuff. So just like with the Catholic school, the school system, you're either in or you're a black sheep. Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. So that was me. So I went completely away from the school system, which now I regret on certain things. I did the right thing, but I do regret that it took me so long to be able to understand the value of some of the information. So if I could have had the knowledge that they were imparting to me, but without the fucking brainwashing on the side, then I could have been part of the system, which I'm now, but it took me, another 30 years to get there.
Well, because like you had to do, you then had to detach and you had to completely develop yourself as its own identity before you bring myself back in the system, back in the Matrix. So I am in the Matrix, but by choice, which is the biggest difference, I think. And that's really what I want people to understand is I don't want to fight the Matrix. I want humans and robots to live together. Yeah. Right. But so we need to do it by choice. Meaning we need the
capitalism
system. And commerce. I need the internet.
Not in every single corner of the system.
I need advertisers. That's how I found out the iPhone or the iPod Pros existed. You know what I mean? I saw the thing. I was like, dope.
No, but just like I don't want us to be milked by the system to the point. Right now, it's on the brink of breaking.
There's some stuff out there too that's interesting. If you look up the kind of social media and just ethics. Not the ethics of but in the background ethics on how they engineer behavior and notifications and things like that. And it is very interesting that they're concerned now because what they need, the system needs, what Facebook needs is for you to really love to see that red one.
Yeah.
That red notification. And what they'll do is you'll get 2 or 3 like you like a picture and that person likes a picture at the same time. I pull up my phone, it's going to show me Julien liked this picture. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to show me the second one. But the next time I pull my phone up and open the app, then it's going to show me. Why? Because every time I open that app, it needs to say, hey, you like this a little bit, right? It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You got a little, someone was thinking of you, so you're focused
on the messages we get. Like sometimes it says, oh, you got messages where we didn't, like, like someone commented
or you also know
so
that message was there at the same time before the last
Exactly,
thing.
But he didn't tell you. Yeah, I see that all the time.
Because they want you to spend as many hours as possible and as many repetitions as possible.
But we are getting to a stage where it's harming people.
Yeah.
And so the system is going to cannibalize itself. But that's the problem, is the system. In an objective-based system, you have no breaks. Mm-hmm. In a constraint-based system, all you got to do is add another constraint. Oh, we can't do that one. Yeah. So a constraint-based system can evolve, whereas an objective-based system there is no evolution. Yeah. There's only a goal. There's only that objective to reach. There is no possible evolution. You can only have an evolution of the objective. But like this is why you see the problem with Facebook and all that stuff. We need to start understanding the power of a constraint-based system, and this has to start with school. This is where the matrix got a hold of us.
Yeah.
It's a school. And that's where I want StrongFit to be an educational force.
Yeah.
In many stuff. So I'm like, but I was doing it in a completely conceptual way because I think that was a weakness of my part when it came to the academic side of things and the power that it has. I believe the system is a brainwashing system, but that does not mean there are no good parts.
That's it too, and it doesn't mean there's not good people involved in it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about the system.
But yeah, exactly. There are benefits.
This is where the knowledge is, though. Like the number of studies that I'm reading that literally change everything are all in a way from the academic world. Computer science a bit less, but still, those are books written. The stuff about the heart, they were done by academics.
Yeah.
I need that as well. So I want StrongFit to evolve in a place where it uses the power of the academic world, but not with the brainwashing that comes with it. Because the academic world is an objective-based system. So I want to have an educational system within StrongFit that uses constraints and not objectives. Yeah. If I can do that, then I can truly help coaches and people. So that's what 2020 will be.
2020.
School system.
We're coming at you.
Yes, we are.
In the meantime, StrongFit 1 on Instagram, Tyler Effin on Instagram, UK32, Rare Barracuda. We have StrongFit.com, or StrongFit.com, StrongFitEquipment.com, StrongFitEquipment.eu, Manta Fitness in Australia, Julien'sCorner.com.
And we have Disney December.
Disney December's coming in hot. I don't know what else I forgot.
You say Manta Fitness? We're good.
We're good. All right.
They know by now.
All right.
And we have new stuff coming in 2020.
Lots of new stuff coming in.
In January, we'll have some major...
We'll have big announcements in January.
Yes. We have them. We'll wait. January 2020, we'll have major... I believe it will be the biggest year for StrongFit.
Yeah. I think we have different things moving forward in different directions that are going
completely
to be...
different.
Like, that's what I love about it. This, and it's like... I like every one of those.
I'm very happy with my own evolution on this.
Yeah.
The fact that I could finally open up my eyes to certain things, and that I have, and the reason is because I have people coming in within StrongFit that help me do that, because it's not on my own.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very happy with what I see the future being. Let's say just 2020. I'm very happy about what 2020 is going to bring.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about it.
We're going to head in some pretty cool directions. So you're going to want to follow all of those platforms then.
2020
for 2020
will be good
for sure.
StrongFit 2020.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.